Okay, so if you're a project manager, you know that your entire life is basically juggling resources, timelines, budgets. It's a constant battle with complexity. But what if you had a completely different kind of team working alongside you? A team that could, see around corners? Let's get into how machine learning is seriously changing the game. I mean, just think about it for a second. What if you could know, with a pretty high degree of certainty, which tasks were heading off a cliff, which budgets were about to blow up, or where all the hidden risks are lurking in your portfolio? And look, this isn't some far-off sci-fi stuff. This is the real promise of machine learning. But here is the absolute most important thing to get right off the bat. AI isn't a magic button you just press. No, the best way to think about it is as a project dream team, a small group of hyper-specialized experts, and each one has a totally unique skill. So let's meet the three key players on this team. All right, first up on the team, this is your intelligence officer. This is the one who digs through all the noise to find that one critical signal. We're going to call this specialist the pattern detective. So how do you picture this person? Easy. Imagine handing someone a giant, messy digital box filled with every single email, change order, and meeting note from all your past projects. And you just tell them, go find something interesting. That's really the core of what our pattern detective does. Okay, so the fancy technical term for this is unsupervised learning. A good way to think about it is like a detective at a crime scene. Nobody tells them what clues to look for, right? They just get the scene and they have to find the patterns themselves. And that's why they call it unsupervised. You're not feeding it the answers. You just give it a mountain of raw data and let it uncover the hidden structures. It's all about pure, unfiltered discovery. So that's the theory. But how does this actually help you on a project? Well, it comes down to two big things. First, something called clustering, which is all about finding the natural groups that exist in your data. And second, anomaly detection, which is all about spotting the weird outliers that just don't fit in. Let's take clustering. Think about your project stakeholders. The detective can analyze all your communications and start to identify these distinct groups, not based on their job titles, but on how they actually communicate and behave. So you could have your core decision makers and your peripheral consultants. This means you can tailor your comms plan to how people are really involved, not just what their title is on some dusty old org. And then you've got anomaly detection. This one's super easy to grasp. The system just learns what a normal invoice for a certain vendor looks like. So when an invoice suddenly comes through that's, say, 10 times the usual amount, bam, it gets flagged instantly. It's not saying it's fraud. It's just saying, hey, a human needs to put their eyes on this. It's basically your digital watchdog, your early warning system. All right, so our detective has gone through all that messy data and found some incredible patterns. We're starting to understand our past. Now, let's bring in the second member of our team, the expert forecaster. This specialist takes all that historical knowledge and uses it to predict what's going to happen next. Now, this forecaster, they're not just throwing darts at a board. They are a meticulous student of history. I mean, picture this system poring over the blueprints, the budgets, the final outcomes of hundreds of your past projects. It learns, in excruciating detail, the exact patterns that lead to success and the ones that lead to failure. So the tech behind this is called supervised learning. And here's the key difference. Unlike our lone wolf detective, this specialist has a teacher. You feed it a ton of historical data that is already labeled with the correct answers. You're basically showing it a past project and saying, see this one? This one was delayed. This one, it was over budget. But this one was perfect. And this forecaster has two main tricks up its sleeve. The first is called classification. That's where it predicts a category. It answers questions like, will this phase be delayed or on time? The second is regression, and that's where it predicts an actual number. It's for questions like, what is the final cost going to be, down to the dollar? And that is what a regression model can spit out. Not a ballpark, not a kind of sort of range, a precise numerical forecast. I mean, come on. Imagine having that kind of number for your project's final cost during the planning phase. That completely changes the conversation. Okay, but, and this is a huge but, there's a major catch. Our forecaster is brilliant, but it's totally 100% dependent on the data you give it. If your historical project records are a mess, or biased, or just plain wrong, its predictions will be useless. It's the classic, garbage in, garbage out. Okay, team check-in. Our detective helps us understand the past. Our forecaster helps us predict the future. But what about actually doing something about it, right now, in the present? While for that, we need to call in the MVP, the most advanced member of our team, the adaptive strategist. The best way to get this is to imagine a trainee playing a super realistic video game of your project. They get to try millions of different moves, shifting a team here, reordering a task there, and they instantly see the outcome in a safe, simulated world. By doing this over and over, through relentless trial and error, it eventually masters the game. It learns the absolute best move to make in any situation. The technical name for this is reinforcement learning, and it learns through this really simple, powerful loop. First, it looks at the project right now, the current state. Then, based on everything it's learned, it takes an action, it makes a move. And finally, it gets feedback, a reward if the move helped, or a penalty if it hurt. Its only goal is to figure out a strategy that gets the biggest possible reward over the long haul. So what can you do with this? Honestly, the applications are just mind-blowing. We're talking about systems that can dynamically optimize how you use your resources across your entire portfolio, or even automatically repair a project schedule in real time right after something goes wrong. So for instance, the strategist might look ahead and see a potential traffic jam, a bottleneck forming 2 weeks down the road. It could then recommend a very specific action, like reallocate this crew from that non-critical task today to stop that future problem before it even starts. See? It goes way beyond just predicting problems to actively, intelligently solving them. Okay, let's bring the whole team together for a huddle. We've met our 3 specialists, the detective who finds patterns, the forecaster who predicts outcomes, and the strategist who decides on actions. Now let's see how this dream team really works together. This right here, this is the ultimate cheat sheet. It lays it all out. Look at their core goals. The detective is about discovery. The forecaster is about prediction. The strategist is about decision-making. And look at the examples. The detective gives you an insight. Hey, we have 4 types of stakeholders. The forecaster gives you a prediction. This task has an 85% risk of delay. And the strategist gives you a direct action. Reassign the crane to Site B now. You see the difference? It's the journey from insight to prediction to action. And that right there is your AI Dream Team in a nutshell. You use the detective, unsupervised learning, to understand the past. You use the forecaster, supervised learning, to predict the future. And you use the strategist, reinforcement learning, to control the present. Each one has a critical and totally distinct role to play. Which, of course, leaves us with one last kind of mind-bending question to chew on. As these AI specialists get smarter and more integrated into how we work, are they just going to be tools that we use? Or one day, will they become the project manager? Something to think about.